Phytopharma is using specific types of plant to develop these new vaccines and new treatments for various infectious diseases.
So during COVID vaccine, we put the gene of COVID-19 into the plants, just a part of it, so it's not infectious. And then the plants produce a part of COVID for us, and it becomes vaccine.
Have you faced any regulatory challenges or any specific clinical challenges?
What we're doing is basically like you're driving a plane while you're building it, So there's a chance, like you lost someone along the way, lost some of the passengers along the way. And
hello, Suthira, and welcome in Scouted by Gravy. Thanks for joining me today. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good as well. Thanks for asking. So, Suthira, after the great success of actually, Phytopharma is very famous in pharma industry, specifically for your work in developing plant-based COVID vaccine back when lockdown was going on. So, how has that popularity or that success shaped up?
I don't think that I would consider it as a success. I would consider it as a key milestone that we need to achieve. So we were pretty new during COVID. We launched just a few months before COVID, and COVID was actually an accelerator for us to grow. As a biotech company, you have a key milestone that you need to achieve, and as a new manufacturing platform, all these milestones need to be met so that we have more trust from the regulators, from the patients, from people who's going to use our products at the end of the day. So during COVID, we kind of scale what we have in the labs. So basically, going out from our garage to be a real, industrial scale production with an industrial standard. We actually pivot through getting, our product, COVID vaccine, into phase 1 to phase 1, which is actually one of the key milestones for the company, where we actually test our product that produced from our platform and our manufacturing facility in real human. The good thing about it is, we found that the data, the platform itself are very, very safe. We have actually accumulated experience, and our team in a very more experience on quality, but quality that are related to our technology platform. So I think, to answer your question, I don't think I would say the success, but it's just a key milestone that we will luckily be able to achieve it within the time frame that it's so short, for biotech company that can do this.
Plant-based medicine. This is like a new topic for the industry, and specifically since I think Phytopharma is using specific types of plant to develop this new vaccines and new treatments for various infectious diseases. So can you tell me a little bit, how this works and how are you able to develop medicines from plants, and that too like so fast compared to other medicines?
What we do is like we're biotech, so we're not actually taking anything from plants, but what we do is we make plants produce stuff for us. New medicines, like the medicines that we use now, like 50, 60, 70% are actually a macromolecules now, a macromolecules in which it has to be produced using a different kind of methodology. In the old times, people produce medicines through chemical synthesis. But with macromolecules, you need to produce it using living organism like cells. So it can be mammalian cell, it can be yeast, it can be E. coli, bacteria. But for us, instead of using those traditional, conventional platform, we use the whole plants. So basically, the plants become, a small bioreactors or a small fermentation for us. What we do is we infect the plants with an agrobacteria that only infect plants, and we genetically modify the bacteria to carry the genes that we want of the product that we want to produce in there. So during COVID vaccine, we put the gene of COVID-19 into the plants, just a part of it, so it's not infectious. And then the plants produce a part of COVID for us, and it becomes vaccine. We can produce other things like monoclonal antibodies that can be used for a lot of diseases right now, like cancer, all like inflammation disease, like rheumatoids, all kind of diseases. So what we do is we have a platform to produce something. That's where we started. So using plants are basically faster and cheaper compared to a conventional platform.
Your anti-cancer vaccines have also entered into preclinical trial and they have showcased some efficacy. So can you tell me a little bit about what's going on there and how it is going on so far?
With being a platform, we need to find some products to produce. So what we do is we're actually using an open innovation concept where we collaborate with a lot of, researchers, companies, like researchers from the university, companies, and, a lot of people. We also have our in-house R&D, and our in-house R&D, like we use, we had developed, a system where we can find where would be a patient unmet medical need that we can tackle. So currently we're focusing on two things. We're focusing on producing a cancer that can penetrate the brain. We actually have a very good data on the molecules that we have. So basically what we have now, what does the industry have now is a treatment for cancer, which become very, very much more effective now. But one of the key things that we still have a problem is these products, these treatments, are still not be able to access our brain, because our brain has a very, specific system to take things, like to kind of stop things to get into the brain. So what we're trying to do is we have a technology that shuttle these macromolecules into the brain, and we have a library of all the shuttles, and we're testing those shuttles right now. That's one thing. The other thing is we're trying to make these antibodies and treatments last longer in human body, because we know that now, there's a lot of treatment that are actually available, but the problem is, sometimes the treatments are not, they circulate in human body not long enough. It might, be too short to cover the whole season of the infectious, or it would be, take too much effort for the patients to come and take, the injection every month. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make those things last longer in our human body. And we have those data, proof of concept and preclinics. We're actually optimizing that right now to get the best molecules that we can get into human. Hopefully that we can do that in this coming 18 to 24 months.
It sounds very exciting, and I've known about this. Again, I'm not from the industry, so I don't have a lot of technical background, but I know about, brain being very selective about what can enter and what cannot.
Yeah.
So, and that has been a lot, one of the challenge of developing these kind of vaccines which directly affect brain.
Yeah.
So, and you also mentioned that you operate on an open innovation model and where you collaborate. So can you tell me how does that work? Because what actually I'm interested in, how easy it is, let's say for a very big company, a pharma company, to basically integrate your developments or your system for their pipeline, for their facilities and their pipeline, then do some experimentation there, or how does this work?
So normally we work with a more smaller company, because big pharmas are more like a sales distribution kind of ventures enterprise. But for us, what we do is we're trying to collaborate with, a smaller R&D biotech company, or, a scientist that work in their labs that are trying to figure out the way to get their products to, human, basically from bench to bedside faster, because we kind of know that, the platform that we have are actually faster to get products to human. So we work with that with a lot of companies. I think the idea is that we, if you want to invent a drug that can save patients' life, it take a village to do that. And I felt that, you need to collaborate with other people to be able to do that. And I think by doing so, you can actually get like more best in class, first in class, medications that could actually change people's life much faster than, we're going to just do our own kind of thing.
Yeah. It's good that you're not gating the innovation that you're doing, and actually not gating, but I would say you're very open to collaborate with other companies.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to understand how basically the intellectual property, or like basically, if since you have worked on such a unique innovation and there are very less player in the market, so what is your stance on protecting the innovation that your company is making, maybe through patents or other methods? Can you shed some light on that?
I think there's a lot of things, like when we kind of develop new molecules, we actually are filing intellectual properties on those molecules. A lot of things when we kind of scale, to the industrial scale, there's an IP that can be, then throughout the whole process of production and stuff like that, as well as, the experience and know-how that we know how to do that. There's a things that sometimes it's not protected by just the IP, but
Yeah.
it's a part of IP, right? It's actually a know-how and everything that we know. And I think that's one of the most important thing. We kind of build the team and our experience and things that we know how to get things to clinics, which is not an easy thing to accumulate in the company. But I think we have been successfully did that over the past 2 years.
Yes, it's not just patents, because in those cases you have to disclose what you have made. So trade secrets and
Hmm.
other forms of intellectual property also works.
Yeah. So we have different strategies on that.
Have you faced any regulatory challenges or any specific clinical challenges that maybe you hadn't planned for, or I would say which are not very known, because again, not a lot of it is known about plant-based medicine and plant-derived medicines. So I'm sure there's some regulatory challenges might be unique to your processes. So have you faced?
I
Can you
mean,
tell me? Yeah.
being an entrepreneur itself, there's also those, foresight, unforeseen challenges, right? But when you're having a new platform, I think it's very similar to kind of when you talk to other founders that are working on a technology that are trying to disrupt whatever platform that they have. One of the key reasons is how to change people from the current platform to the other platform, right? The key challenges is like, most of the time people will be like, no one's going to change it, right? But at the end of the day, you see founders that are successfully be able to disrupt whatever conventional platform that they are trying to disrupt. By doing so, I think there are so many challenges. People will ask you a lot of questions. People will, challenge us, the technology and stuff that sometimes we might not be able to answer. So we kind of need to there's a guy that told us that what we're doing is basically like you're driving a plane while you're building it. So there's a chance like like you lost someone along the way, lost some of the passengers along the way and stuff. But I think there's so many challenges because it's a new platform. I think it's very normal.
Yes, yes, and I think you've given a very good answer. And this is something I get to know from a lot of founders. I talk to them a lot. I think when I was reading about your backgrounds, you studied abroad, and then you came back to your
Thailand.
home country, yeah, Thailand,
Yeah.
starting this venture, and this is your first company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how has that journey been? So you already mentioned that a lot of people, this is a very good analogy that you're building a plane while you're trying to flying it. So did it at any point, did you feel that maybe this is not going to work, or maybe this is difficult, or it might fail? And of course, since we are here, so you haven't really let those thoughts affect you. And so, but basically, how do you deal with them?
I think um, it would be more correct if I said that I've been thinking about that every single day. That like, is it gonna work? Like, are we gonna survive and stuff like that. I think most founders has those things as well, right? But I think when you're doing that and you have that kind of questions, it's actually remind me that we're actually doing something. If it's being too comfortable, then it won't be, right? So I think that's a reminder that it's like actually we're trying something new and we're actually improving ourselves, personal as well as a non-personal goal, like career wise, technology wise. I think it's actually a reminder that you're actually doing something new. So it's a good feeling, to be honest. Sometimes you need to have some breaks from it, right? But I think if you're kind of like trying, I think if you it's a very cliche saying like if you have a will you'll find a way, right? And I think what we kind of do is because we're the first biotech company in Thailand. People are always like, oh, like, Thailand wasn't considered, even now it hasn't been considered as like a biotech hub. When you grow in a land where there's the land is kind of dry, it's pretty hard to grow, right? But there's a stake for it. Like if you be able to succeed doing that, the reward is it's so high that even if you have just a fraction of it of that reward, it's already
Going to be big.
fulfilling. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think again, it doesn't matter if it is cliche, but what I got from your answer is that really believing in what you're doing is basically making a difference. And it's
Hmm.
obviously it's going to be tough, since it's like biotech in itself is very tough industry, and you are doing something
Yeah.
entirely new in it. So of course
Yeah.
it makes sense. And I
Yes.
got a really good insight on how do you deal with it.
Mm.
So, and with that, Sutira, that was like my last question. And actually, I had a lot of questions, but I also don't want to take a lot of your time. You're doing a crazy work. So, of course, so I think, yeah, that was the end of this call. And thank you for taking me through this journey.